Uh, Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for coming to class. This is Humanities 351. I'm really sorry that the heavens intervened and we didn't have class last time. And to be honest, it was probably the worst possible class to miss. And the reason for that is the, the reason for that is it would have been very nice if I had been able to prepare you to start the semester project last time, but obviously it wasn't possible. And the other thing is, yes, I certainly could have written you up a text and I could have filmed it and so on and so forth, but it's not the kind of thing where that works very well. So what I want to do now in exactly 9 minutes is share with you a couple of points about how to begin your project. First of all, let me show you, and my incredibly proficient photographer can show this. I have added a whole series of YouTube clips on various aspects of mythology. I think that would be one of the first things that I did before I went any further in selecting the myth that I wanted to look at. And the reason for that is, even though the crash course clips are, not necessarily perfect, and was certainly not brilliant, they do focus really well on the most important parts of myth, and they give you some language and some concepts to work with. And that will be a really great first start. So that's what I would do in the very first place. The second thing that I want to mention, and I'm going to move this fast, is I want to show you, at least this is the way I would proceed if I were a student in 351. And it's really simple. It couldn't be simpler, actually. What I would do is this. I would just go to Google and I would do, let's do Native American myths. And I'll give you a list, a short list of 8 or 9 or 10 myths. And just go to Google and you will immediately see that you have about 10 or 12 sources. And interestingly, whether you
I'm sorry, what'd you Google?
yeah, I would Google either Native American myths or Greek myths or Roman myths or African myths, etc., Hindu myths. I will give you a list of types of myths to Google. But the point that I want to make here is, I get used to kind of doing this, that you'll see that what pops up is the same. That is to say, the conceptualization, the way the Google algorithms conceptualize mythology, whether it is Native American, Greek, Roman, African, is exactly the same. Now, the other thing is somewhere here in the list of the first 10. Okay, I'm not really seeing it right here, but it's there because I did this on my home computer. There are about 8 or 9 or 10 videos about the myths. And so that's also where I would start, because yes, it's popular, it's not like deep dive academics, but that's not really what we need. We need to sort of, for now, kind of stay on the surface, get our bearings, and you need to choose a myth to work on. Okay, so that's the way I would proceed. I would begin on our Leo and go to the module that I just created. It's the very last one, and take a look at not necessarily all of them, but some of them. Okay, and so once you have done that, then I would just Google first and start. You might as well start with Native American, and then do Greek, and then do African. And as I said, I will give you a list. And I think at that point, you will see that there's a lot of similarity between the myth systems. They basically, I mean, to put it really simply, they basically have all the same stuff, okay? They all have a creation of the world. They all have family trees. They all have life after death, and they all have, you know, in one way or another, what is the soul and what is the function of a human being, okay? But the point here that we will be making, and the point that is really fascinating, is that every mythological system, as you go from culture to culture, is really different. That is, and we're going to see that tonight, everyone, when we do the three creation myths, that four creation myths actually, that even though the narratives are similar, what the narratives mean are entirely different. Okay, which makes it interesting. Does anyone have a bright idea about why that might be the case? They're all saying structurally similar things, but the meaning is absolutely entirely different.
Interpretation.
Well, but why? That's exactly right. That's a great way to put it. Yes, the interpretation. We'll stick with the creation myth. Everyone has a creation. You know, almost all cultures have creation myths, but the creation is seen in different ways. Why is that? Because this is where the class gets fun.
Humanity's asking the same questions.
Yeah, but that's what we're saying. Yes, you know, that's absolutely right. Humanity always asks the same questions, but my question is, why are they given different answers? You know, we can talk about this for 1,000 years, but there's one reason in particular.
Opinionated.
Absolutely, but why would they have different opinions? That's a great way to say it too. And this is why saying its interpretation is also exactly right. But why is there such a wide spectrum, opinions about something so fundamental?
Is it different religions?
Well, that's close. That's close enough.
Different things happen.
Yes, that's exactly right. Different. That's a great way to put it too. Different things happen to them. The modern way of saying that is they have completely different cultural experiences. They might as well, I mean, put it in a kind of dumb way, they might as well be on different planets. The life of someone in Athens, the life of someone in the middle of Africa, the life of someone in China are so incredibly different that they have different views of life. Okay, so what this means practically for us is that just thinking about the different, the similarities and the difference between the mythic systems will get us really far, because it's not so hard, because the differences are so flagrant. It's not very hard to see what is driving the different interpretations of life. Now, once again, people who aren't here, people who are here, you know, I'm talking to the camera for posterity here. I wanted to sort of say something about the nature of this class and be really firm and clear about that, about this. As we all know, baseball season begins when? How are we doing the time? 8? Yeah, so I have the inner clock now. Baseball season begins when? Thursday, okay? And I want to talk a tiny little bit about the way I conceive, not baseball, but this class. I see, there's a kind of problem, I think, in a lot of classes. I don't even want to specify college classes, and I'm most certainly not referring to UMC in particular. And that is the teacher kind of tends to take on an authoritarian role, whereas he or she is basically ordering students to do one thing or another, and then if they're not done in such a way, there's a penalty, okay? And that penalty ends up being, you know, calculated into the grade. That's not the way I see either this class or my role in this class. I see this class as a really unique experience to think about things that have an immense bearing on human life and come from a long time ago and will be around for a very long time, number one. I think I see myself less as a jail keeper than as a groundskeeper, in the sense that I'm kind of laying establishing the situation where you can really enjoy this class and learn a lot. I'm also like a big league manager in the sense that I'm not giving you instruction on how to write. I'm not giving you really strict commandments about how you're swinging and catching and doing double plays. I'm just establishing the conditions for you having a really good experience in the class. So I want you to enjoy the class. That's if anything, that's my first priority. I want you to learn a lot, and I want you to follow your own ideas and instincts. All these matters in this class are really deep and really profound. And as someone said a second ago, I mean, there's so many different myths, and because we're not looking in particular at Greek mythology or Roman mythology or Native American mythology, but we're looking at all of them, we have to be really respectful about the incredible diversity in this, and trust our instincts to find what really interests each of us, okay? And I think that can be done, and I think that's what will make a really good class. I think, I want to say one more thing before we turn off the camera. I know that because we lost the class, the whole sense of how to do the semester project is not so clear. I'll clarify that for you. And let me just assure you that the semester project is not very difficult. I would say for those of you who were in, I forget the number of the class, the class last semester, that was much harder than this one's going to be. This is pretty straightforward. It's short. Once you make your decision, understanding the myth and then understanding the contemporary problem, that won't, that won't lead anyone to anything like a nervous breakdown. Everyone will be able to do it quite easily. You also have me to help you, and we will be working on your project in class, not this time, but starting the next time. One quick question for the camera. Anyone have any?
You said contemporary problem?
Yes, okay, so remember, let me conclude like this. The semester project has two parts. One is choosing a myth, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, and showing how that myth can be used as a lens on a contemporary problem. That's the reminder for everyone. Okay, thank you very much.